Hello, Brabs. I'm back with more books. Lots of books. This will be later on, and this is now. Um, I went to a book sale. No. By the way, I'm waiting for the rain to stop so I can walk and not read books. I went to an estate sale yesterday, and while discussing a digger sale with the proprietor of said estate, why is this fucking light on the camera? God damn it, Jim. I wonder if I can turn that off. Yeah, it just did. Um, he mentioned a digger sale, and hey, mate, I've got the books out in the car. By the way, this is brought to you by Ham's Beer, even though they're not sponsoring me. I'm sponsoring them. He's like, yeah, I've got some of the books out in the car. They're sex books and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, buddy, I'll buy some if you got them. He said, yeah, $1 a piece. So I'm like, all right, buddy. That effervescence. Fucking vescence. It's my pre-walk workout. Let's get on with these books, which are mostly smut and sexual related, because apparently that person was into that. The Folklore of Sex, an amazing collection of material illustrating American attitudes towards sex, love, and marriage by Dr. Roy E. Dickerson. I mean, that's kind of creepy, but it is a Black Cat book, so they were kind of known for the avant-garde. I did notice this on the side too. It says sex E. I don't know if that means sexy or file under sex E. An irrelevant dissection of American sex mores, extramarital relations, petting, fornication, perversions, real and imagined, sex organs. These and many more areas are covered in this new and revised edition. Here is a book that truly deserves to be called unusual. Full of wit, occasional sarcasm, and much common sense. It ranks among the important contributions to life and love in the contemporary USA. One could go on endlessly quoting, but the best advice this review can give is for everyone to read The Folklore of Sex. It is a shortcut to a liberal education in sexology and a thoroughly satisfying experience. Dr. Harry Benjamin. I got this book because of the folklore aspect. I don't know how much is actual folklore, but I suppose if it's passing itself off as a non-fiction sort of deal. The study has a history, and that history itself would make an interesting story. Someday, perhaps, I shall write that story in detail. Here I shall have to be content with giving its bare outlines. The history of this study might be said to begin at one of several different places, with my own research interests in human sex and love behavior, which professionally began some 11 years ago with my fortuitously meeting a well-known psychiatrist in Boston in 1948. Let's start in Boston. My inception, I can't read this. So I can't read books like these because they're just fucking. Masturbation, illegitimacy, birth control, abortion, pregnancy, nudity, scatology, isn't that where you're eating poo-poo? Sexual intercourse, sex crimes, censorship, sex perversion, incest, Jesus Christ, romanticism and sex, puritanism. We'll go there. That's probably more in lines with my mental illness. Well, anti-sexual acts are, as we've been saying throughout this study, common enough in America. They are normally ameliorated to some degree in theory or practice. Thus, the very same people who believe that, say, kissing and petting are generally undesirable habits, they're fools. Get rid of this book. No, I'm keeping that one. I like it, despite the fucking tawdry cover. Unnecessarily tawdry. The devil is due. Demons on this and other worlds conjured up by modern masters of science fiction. As you can see, it's quite cupped. Judith Merrill, John Wyndham, Thomas Disch, John Sladek, Michael Moorcock. I only got it because of the devil cover to go with my Satan books, even though I don't believe in such concepts. The devil is due. This is, I believe, a normal fiction, though I can't say that Lucretia Borgia wasn't a sexual deviant or something. I don't really know. Marcus Van Heller's top best-selling historical novels, The Loins of Ammon and Roman Orgy, set new standards in the field of narrative fiction based on factual data, but he has excelled even himself in this major two-part epic chronicling the Borgia family. All right, so it's historical fiction. Still, I would have got it had I known that. The House of Borgia, as in Lucretia Borgia. I like the cover, regardless of what is what and what isn't what. Now, this book is absolutely filthy in more ways than one. You can just see the grime on it. Literally just filthy. And the inside story of a women's prison, female convict, Vincent G. Burns, as told to Vince. Vincent didn't even write this shit. It was just told to him by bitches in prison, apparently. The matrons wielded whips. Dope peddling was rampant. The warden provided special cells for his favorite girls. Hey, it sounds like the fucking gulags. The Soviet officers got those benefits. Her crime was stealing a coat. Her punishment was 18 months in a vermin-infested pen. Female convict is an uncompromising indictment of this vicious system that treats women like caged animals and breeds degeneracy where it ought to bring reform. The funny aside to all this is that not only did the said proprietor have these books in his truck, his helper also had some in her trunk of the car, and as I was looking through hers were mostly sci-fi, his were mostly the sex ones. I saw a couple Philip K. Dick books, which I didn't get because they smell like rot, so these are basically novelties more than selling. Yeah, these are absolutely just ingrained with the filth of musty stank. So I got these mostly for the novel aspect of them. And so I was like, yeah, you might want to check those Philip K. Dick books, because at John King Books, which is the 1 million volume bookstore in Detroit, one of the world's largest, these things fly off the shelf in rapid succession. And lo and behold, when I went in to pay, not fucking 2 or 3 minutes later, who is there but John King? And I go, hey, this guy would know these books better than me, buddy. This is a guy that knows books. John fucking King himself. Champion. So yeah, I don't think he heard me, but I heard them mentioning to him as I was leaving, so you're kind of know books. And he seemed like he didn't want to talk about it, which is why I left, because I didn't want to say, hey, John King, I know who you are, because why would I be such a twat? I mean, I'm a twat anyways, but... Oh, the female convict. Let's see. We'll give you a sample of this bullshit. Chapter 20. The next morning, early on my way to the lavatory, I encountered a matron by the name of Miss Hart, who was the only one of the matrons who had never been friendly to me. She stopped and she said, what have you done? You're going into solitary. I looked at her. She had been off duty the night before and had not heard about what transpired in the hall. They've got me framed. Fuck you. This book's worth some money, and I'm going to try to clean it up and get the stanky stank out of it. Sex Life of a Cop. This was no ordinary necking party. They'd broken up. Before them stood the enraged boss, the chief of police, and some women. That's fucking great. course, this book is fucking absolutely trashed. Sex Life of a Cop is the rollicking, ribald story of one of the most likable cops, or rather, two of the most likable cops. Oscar Peck. Apparently, the chief gets caught. Sergeant Jim Thorne had just arrived at the police station and was about to enter the rear door when he heard his rank called. "Hey, Sarge," Jim churned, recognizing the voice. "Come here," Hal Dempsey called. Jim saw his partner. I don't know how anyone could get past the fucking first paragraph of that twaddle. The sexually delinquent teenager. Are teenagers obsessed with sex? Is teenage homosexuality a way of life? Who is to blame? The swinging parent? Read the startling answers. I presume this is a non-fiction book. The graphics on these books are always great. Our sensual youth. This unique documentary, replete with authentic, uncensored case histories, turns a searing spotlight on the precocious, youthful products of the sexual revolution. The Physiology of Love. Another great cover. A Hillman publication. As you can see, it's also filthy. I mean, wiped down, necessary, filthy. 1932. Well, that's pretty old, honestly. Spring is not only the rutting season, the calendar of love extends over the whole year. Is this a novel? Why does it say other novels now available? Doesn't seem like a novel. Filthy ass book. Gays and Dolls, Detailed Case Histories. A brand new clinical look at today's mod homosexuals, male and female, and the bisexuals who swing both ways. It's not one of the greater graphics, but it shall do. In these unique case histories from the confidential files of a noted psychologist who specializes in deviant sexual behavior, the strange world of the beep, I don't want to get flagged for saying the F word, the lesbian and the switch hitter comes alive as never before in print. Enter the world of these twilight people, tour the gay bars where they set up their sexual liaisons, watch firsthand as they indulge themselves in the pairs or in the groups. In pairs or in groups, in some of the most shocking sex orgies ever recorded. These are the authentic stories of, basically, listen, they don't have to be fucking segregated to gays and bisexuals. I mean, lower element people of all sexes are deviants. When you're having an orgy, you're pretty much a pitiful motherfucker with no sense of self or a value in that self or the benefits of being just in general. You're just a fucking human animal plagued with the indifferences of the sensual lifestyle. It means nothing. Oh, that's one. Great graphics. Disgusting topic. Sex slave and master. I don't give a fuck if you're consenting to like slave and master. You're a piece of shit if you're involved in either side of it. Which is not to say, hey, you slap a girl on the ass or something, that's fine. But when you got like dog collars and shit and you're like saying sir, master, you're fucking just, you're doomed. You're a fucking worm on a hook. And unfortunately, in the human world, a big carp doesn't just come out of the sky or the moisture of an eyeball and just swallow you whole and take you away. Karma's daddy. Here's the deal. Call your own daddy. And then I'll knock him out. And I'll knock myself out for giving a fuck that daddy even exists. Sadomasochism, a sexual perversion in which gratification is gotten by torturing the loved person. Love of cruelty conceived as manifesting sexual desire. Abnormal sexual passion characterized by pleasure is being abused by one's associate. Hence, any pleasure in being abused or dominated. Which is basically a moron. Just like dressing up and all that. I'm going to play a cop and I'm going to arrest you. You're a fucking idiot. You got nothing in your life. Nothing. Like I said, though, great cover. Sex Life of the American Prostitute. A detailed study of that army of women steeped in degradation and humiliation. Tarnished souls devoted to lust and desire. Wanton women whose stock in trade in passion, gratification. Here's this. I can't believe this has actually been put to print. Not that I'm for censorship, but I mean, Jesus Christ. Now, as a clinical study, it's not a waste of paper, but obviously if you're putting this kind of cover on there, you're a piece of shit. But I still like it. It's good. It's a good cover. Just shows you how desperate and fucking pitiful the human dilemma is. Eros and Capricorn, a cross-cultural survey of sexual attitudes and techniques. Good graphics. I got this because of the Capricorn, even though I'm not a Capricorn. I don't think I know any Capricorns. Maybe I do. I'm sure I do. Just by the fact that there's only 12 signs and there's billions of people. In the first syllable of recorded time, the infinite realm of sexuality has exerted enormous influence not only upon the lives and thoughts of individual men, but upon the whole fabric of man's culture. The all-pervasive nature of the influence of Eros is universal. I bet it is. Horror Stories, the second Fontana book of great horror stories, edited by Christine Bernard. The victim, Stephen. Something strange, Satan. Kingsley Amos. That man again. The beast with 5 eyes. Judith. I don't recognize much of that shit. But The Rascal's Guide to Naughty Women and How to Tame Them. For its time, this was risque. Today, it's basically passe. Smells like a fucking tarantula's nephew's bung. But, as I said, on a scan of a book cover, after a nice washing with some agua fria and a little bit of suds, one will not know that it stinks as such. 1959 seems to be the year that this person whose sale is coming up came into their sexual awakening of sorts. Tips on hanky-panky for very wicked men. I won't dignify the stupidity of that. 20 Years Behind Red Curtains, the biography of a prostitute, Shocking and True, by Nancy Dean, as told to Jack Powers. See, I mean, that's a cool Laura Palmer-esque Cover. Nancy Dean gives straight answers to these questions. How do prostitutes get their start? I mean, is that an FBI thing about it? Parlor girls, pimp, prostitute. 20 years. 1959 again. Shocking. So, yeah, that's these little books. Nice little guide to tomfuckery. I had another sale, the one after I saw John King. I bought this book. Ghost Ships of the Great Lakes. I also bought a $4 Ouija board that had a fucking hole in it. But it's one of those 1960s ones, so it's great. About 10 years ago, I found an old story about lights in a boat, a sunken vessel somewhere in either Detroit River or St. Clair, which was thought of as a ghost ship, and I've never been able to find the story again. I always thought it was the Boscabel, but I don't know. I'll probably never find the story again, or one day I'll find it and it'll be too late. But this rekindles that hope that I'll find it with Ghost Ships of the Great Lakes. And the guy was like, "Hey, you like Great Lakes stories? Or you like stories about shipping?" I was like, "No, not really, to be honest with you, dude." And he goes, "Well, as a dealer myself, I know that these sorts of books are really hard to find." I'm like, "Listen, dude, I've got about 200 Michigan books, easily 200, that I found at thrift stores. I find every fucking week at least, I'd say 2 to 5, and this week probably closer to 10 books. As you can see here, Verner's, Detroit, Opera House, Verner's Story. Yeah. 2 to 5 books minimum from Michigan. And most of them are on the cheap. And he's like, "They're really hard to find." He was trying to sell me these $80 books. I'm just like, dude. Oh, we got one more of these motherfuckers. Jailbait by William Bernard. I did a video of this one, of one chapter. I started reading it. It's not much. It's mostly exploitation of children via a nonfiction study where you exploit the story to get readership, because no one cares about your nonfiction study, your nonfiction explication. This I found at the estate sale where I saw John King. Good Morning, Music, Calls, and Directions for Old Time Dancing as Revived by Mr. and Mrs. Henry Ford. As it says, and which is not a revelation by me, Henry Ford, for some unknown motherfucking reason, brought back dancing. But I guess it was only in the 20s or 30s when he started doing this, so it made sense then. He brought back all these defunct dances and recorded albums, not albums, but he had a lot of these old songs recorded. The ones that hadn't been recorded, he revived them. And he held little dances and stuff like that. When I guess you're fucking 100 millionaire in the time of thousandaires, you can do things like that. I mean, you could have done worse, but yeah, that's the genesis of this. Since it's local, I'll add it to my collection of 2 to 5 books per week. This book, along with this book, came in the mail, and they're part of my current research fad now that Gundella the Witch has been shelved for practical reasons, from resistance from certain people who hold the copyright to her works, who don't like me, who think I'm obsessed with the concept of Gundella, and don't even like me calling her by her actual given name, Marion, who thought that was rude, that I wasn't a personal friend, so I shouldn't call the woman Marion. And I was just like, listen, I don't want to deal with this butter churning bullshit. So I just paused that, moved on, and this is the Vinama. Well, the Vimana, but spelled Vinama in the initial publication of the Detroit Flying Saucer Club, which was a brainchild of I can't remember the exact guy's name. I'll look in here. Henry Madej. He was one of them. One of the other individuals was Laura Mundo, who became basically a world-renowned pioneer of UFO research, and mostly not necessarily the technical science, supposed science of UFOs, but the folklore-y, abductee, sighting variety. And she wrote her own publication called the Mundo Monitor, which is shockingly similar to my little newspaper called the Nankin Township Monitor, which I picked out of thin air, but coincides with the fact that I'm now obsessed with writing the history of this woman. As you can see, she was the vice president. Her name was Laura Mundo Marxer when she was married to Otto Marxer. And her books are rather rare to find. This one has been reproduced by some clusterfuck organization against her desire to have no copyright on her material, which means anybody can publish it, and which is why I'm going to copy this one and post it online for free, because she wished her material to be free so that she could enlighten the planet about the coming of the alien, whatever it was, apocalypse of sorts, where the aliens would come to enlighten us, which was part of the Father's plan. So anyways, this is John E.L. Tenney's cash grab to reproduce the 5 issues he has in his possession. It's obviously very rare, the Vimana is, and he has 5 copies. He's like a Michigan pioneer, not pioneer, but a paranormal guy, and he'll use any story, including Gundella, to finance selling poppycock to halfwits. Myself, I'm not so inclined. I will probably copy most of this book and reproduce it online for free, but since this is not his domain to own, republish, or profit off it, though in his defense, I think the book was retailed at $7.95, and that probably covers half, at least 3/4 of the cost. So you figure he probably makes $1 on each copy. There's probably 10,000 copies if he makes $10,000, which is possible. Still too much money to make off of something that's not yours. And a little forward, you put a little quotation, another quotation, and an introduction of 2 pages, and you're gonna profit off of Laura Mundo's work. Not that I'm unhappy that it's out there, but then I doubt you could sell this concept to most publishers. I don't know if it was it self-published? You could sell this concept to some publisher who would say, yeah, we'll fucking reproduce it, buddy, and not make any money. So I said, I don't totally fault him. Classic UFO collection, the Detroit Flying Saucer Club, Vimana, all rights reserved, John L. Tenney, E.L. Tenney. No. All rights are not reserved because you do not own this material. Forward. an introduction and any of that shit you do own, but you don't own the copyright on the Vimana. I don't care what anybody says. You can sue me. Ditto on this book by the Flying Saucers. Flying Saucers and the Father's Plan, which goes into some crazy shit, but the subtitle is Reconciling Christianity with Science and Philosophy. Laura always did the little UFO like O on her name. I believe the original publication, there it is, 63, by the Saucerium, which was not Clive Barker, but I don't know what his name was. Something Barker. I mean, he didn't exactly, the person who redid this didn't exactly spruce it up. I mean, it looks like a shitty mimeograph reproduced in high-tech form. Who's GD? Gray Davis? Is that his name, Gray Barker? I don't know who GD is. That did the illustration. Oh, Jean Duplantier. Duplantier. TA. Other illustrations and photographs appear. Blah, blah. Anyways, this book's about her belief that aliens were part of the Father's plan, which is a God that's not projected as our supposed God is. And this one sent the aliens. Well, we're all sent here. Anybody who's clean, unwashed, dullard is sent here to be reprogrammed and retrained to the Father's plan, which is, I guess, just progression during lives. I'm not sure if she believes in reincarnation, but I'm sure she probably does, since she believes this is more a penal colony of sorts, this planet, that you're here to learn what the Father's plan is. And the aliens are bringing enlightenment to you. There's other stuff in there I can't recall at the time, but I will probably read the entire book in its entirety on a succession of crappy videos just like this one. So stay tuned.